Yeah. Right. 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 Am I distracting you?
No, you're not.
Okay. Good. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Threat X3 Productions. I am Nick.
And I am Nate.
Welcome back to whatever the fuck this show is. Yep.
It has Nick and Nate, so we put it in the title.
There you go. So, how has your week been? All right, we're good. And you're dead. We got Fall Guys with Nightmare Before Christmas shit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It looks cute. Look.
So, like I said, we were watching Home Alone last night. And the movie starts, and it's at the scene whenever they're, the cops waiting at the staircase. And I asked her, asked my girlfriend, I was like, so when did you notice that was the same guy that he was just casing the place? And she was like, it's not. And I went, talking about the police officer, I was like, it is. It is. And so she was adamant.
She never realized that was Joe Pesci?
She did. Yeah, she was like, and so she went to go look it up on IMDb, went to his IMDb page and like found the picture of him from the, like, whenever he was in the Wet Bandits. And she was just looking at it, like, look up at the same time. And she was like, oh, they kind of do. And then she scrolled over. It was the cop picture. And she was like, oh, she was like, I was straight up about to fight you. And I was like, and you would have lost. Because it's like, it's straight, like he notices the pain. Like that's a part of the movie.
So, okay, yeah. Let's get into the Suicide Squad real fast here. So we had a show a couple episodes ago where we're like, what is this game? And I think we were, for the most part, right, where it's like basically like a third-person shooter mixed with some probably martial arts or whatever. But the gameplay alone looked like almost all third-person shooter. Mm-hmm. And like, no. So what do we feel about that?
That's what I was going to say. I have no idea. I'm going to have to see a developer breakdown of what the hell this game is. Because First impressions, the game looks beautiful. Like, it's the first time in a while where I'm like, oh my God, like, I know that's a cinematic, but that also looks like it might be running in engine. Mm-hmm. So it looks impressive, and it looks like it's it's kind of like whenever Unity came to PS4 and didn't come to the last gen consoles. Like, this looks like a game that specifically will show off next gen.
Yeah, hopefully.
But
yeah,
coming from Rocksteady, like, there's stuff in that thing that I've never seen in a Rocksteady game, like systems and the whole third-person shooter aspect. So we saw traversal, we saw different character elements playing with it. So we know that you can play as all the different characters. It's not like Guardians of the Galaxy where you're just Star-Lord. But again, I don't know what the fuck this game is.
Yeah. And I mean, there definitely was one shot in particular where it showed like King Shark next to Deadshot. So it's like, okay, are they just playing next to each other, or are they trying to show us that it's multiplayer and it's going to be, like a 4-person squad, 2-person squad, 3-person squad? What's up with 3-person squads?
I don't know.
Like, it became a trend, out of nowhere. I think Destiny was the first official one to start it, where they're just like, oh yeah, you just 3 friends or 2 friends and you. It's like, okay, well, like, not that it's a big fucking deal. It's just weird or whatever. I guess that's the one thing Back 4 Blood can do, is bring us back to a day with 4 people.
Yeah, I'm.
Too bad it's success.
Well, I think Destiny probably had a lot to do with that. Another week of living in existential of what the fuck are we living in now?
Yeah.
So we talked about that a lot last week. So
I joked about it at the very end where it's like the Decepticon, Omnicron. Now we're even more in this kind of like WTF, because it's like, okay, so it's 3 times as transmissible, but half as dangerous. Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, to further that, we are definitely living in a topsy-turvy time right now where nothing makes sense. To give you an indication, you're Have you been paying attention to the whole Crumley investigation, Crumley situation with the shooting, school shooting?
Crumley?
Crumley is the kid who took the handgun, and it was the shooting a couple weeks
Oh
ago.
God. Oh my God. Yeah. They got the freaking parents, and yeah, the parents got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And well, first they were on the first they were on the run. Like,
No,
yeah.
yeah. So the thing that came out today, I had seen from let me pull it
Breaking
up.
news.
Breaking news. Officials now say that Jennifer and James Crumley, the parents of accused shooter Ethan Crumley, have retained two high-profile defense attorneys for their involuntary manslaughter charges. Meanwhile, their son Ethan will be defended by a court-appointed attorney for his terrorism, assault, and murder charges. And this morning, I sat there and was watching the arraignment hearing, the Zoom arraignment hearing that they had with the defense attorneys, prosecution, judge, and everything. And like the arguments the defense were making were basically to say like we're not. I think what their defending argument is that trying to go after the prosecution for being reactionary, as far as posting this all out in the media, kind of thing.
Hey, careful.
That's what it seemed like. But yeah,
Right.
they were talking, and I'm just like, I just don't understand how it's not negligence. Like they are guilty at the end of the day of negligence, no matter what. And it's like,
Right.
do we just not like?
Yeah, as far as like as far as that goes, like I know people who are avid gun collectors, and even they're like, yeah, you bought a gun for a fucking tween. There were like red flags galore, and you still felt the need to not take the gun away. Like,
Yeah, to me, the nail in the coffin that it's one of those if people like the whole Rittenhouse thing, if they try to come back and say something, which I don't think anyone's going to come to their defense, but I always prepare that there's always that one person. The
right,
one irrefutable fact that I will go to is how in the hell did they not put two and two together when the day of the shooting, the teachers
yeah,
called them for understandably understandable concerns as far as the drawing of a gun, shooting students and searching for
right,
ammunition. That day, the parents didn't think to go, "Oh, hey, we just bought him a gun. Let's see if he has it with him."
right. I mean, that's honestly probably one of the most fucked up thing. It's like
Is that they are
it's the day of.
mm-hmm.
It's not the week before, the month before, anything like that. Even though there were calls before, I want to say two at least.
Yeah.
And then so two, and then the day of, the fucking day of. Like I don't know like exactly what should be done about the administrators, because I feel like enough was done to them, unfortunately. But at the same time,
See, that's
you had a kid in your possession who was very disturbed. That definitely should have been a suspension or something.
I was in the same
Yeah.
camp that you were until I thought about it a little bit more. And while the administrators showed signs of disturbing comments, we are in a day and age where I feel like they could have jumped immediately to, oh, he might have a gun, but they had no indication to think that it could be severe to that case. Because the parents, because here's the thing too, is they could
I
have
mean,
asked
yeah,
the church's
hindsight's
backpack,
2020.
but the parents could have said
Yeah,
no, and so it's in their court. So I put full blame
true,
on the parents
true.
because they didn't even
The
tell them that they
the
purchased a gun.
that's a really good point. It's like we did just purchase him a gun. Yeah,
They
yeah,
sound just
okay,
like shitty
yeah,
parents altogether, from what
yeah.
I've been reading.
I mean, the fact that they would go on the run, like if you're innocent or whatever, and you know that you did nothing wrong, then let it be cleared up.
Yeah,
I mean, you should always. I think anybody should be afraid of being arrested, because
yeah.
you hear all the stories or whatever. But in this particular situation, when all you did was buy a kid a gun, if you genuinely don't think that's a wrong thing, why go on the run?
Yeah.
I
Hindsight's
mean, there are
2020.
plenty. Yeah, there are plenty of like innocent people who probably go on the run because they just unfortunately maybe
But
they
the
think the evidence is against them or something. So
but the evidence is truly against them in this case. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah,
it's just yeah. So apart from that, I've actually been having a
yeah,
lot of really good stuff. So
yeah.
I have been diving into Miles Morales heavily, 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 heavily,
Yeah.
and that has brought me.
Which for everybody, check out our YouTube. We're gonna have Christmas games and
Mhm.
Christmas movies, and that's gonna be one of them. Is the Miles Morales?
Yeah. Pretty much all I'll say, kind of blanket on that. I'm about. So how far are you? Are you most of the way through?
I am trying to get. I'm trying to think. I'm to the spot. Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
I am to the spot where I am trying to join the underground.
Okay, so I've just played that mission, so I'm just one ahead of you when it comes to main. I cannot stop playing the side activities. For whatever reason, the way they have designed everything as far as the activities, the collectibles, I am way more geared to getting them than doing the main campaign, where I was vice versa with Spider-Man. So that's been a big
Right.
contributing factor. But also, can we just talk about how stellar Hawkeye is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing week, another amazing week, and an amazing episode. And I don't know if you saw this. This makes me sad. As of last week, they were reporting that Hawkeye is still showing as the least viewed, least amount of people have tuned in for the show compared to WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's better than any of those, but it's also like even like a D tier Marvel whatever is still like B or A in other places. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that this.
Well, for people who had a hate for Hawkeye or didn't like Hawkeye the entire 10 years, they need to watch the show because literally it solves every issue that people have had with Hawkeye. It gives, and at least as with this episode, we're starting to see more of a eulogy and love and respect given for Natasha that we didn't see post Endgame. Seeing him wrestle almost every episode with losing Natasha and how much it's breaking him apart is like it
Right.
adds so much more depth to that character. And I'll argue and say that I feel like the dynamic between him and Kate is probably one of my favorite duo dynamics I've seen, at least in what we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
I think really the only one we can compare is Bucky and Falcon, but
Yeah.
just their dynamic works so well together. Also, I just love Haley Steinfeld, so that might have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, right. I mean, the only thing I'd say is that it's starting to grate on me. You
Interesting.
know,
How so?
well, Haley Steinfeld, she's I guess maybe too quirky. Like I feel like for the first two episodes or something, it wasn't that big of a deal. But as the episodes go on, she's still just acting like she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. And, hopefully that means that, the last episode, she'll just be like this confident, Yas Queen. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're going to get. But as of right now, like, I guess it's just. I guess it's just like the way she talks. It's like, yeah, we're like best friends and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. I think that's been overdone at this point. So it
That's on
just,
purpose.
I get that. I really do. But that doesn't make it any better. Like,
I think that's
if it was done on accident, it wouldn't like suddenly make it better.
well, I think it's a to each their own thing because that's
Right,
something I
right,
like
definitely.
about her character, and in particular in the last episode, whenever they were doing the reconnaissance, and it's like, all right, rappel down from the thing, and she just starts walking across the street, and he's like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I thought the same thing at first when they were in the elevator because she was like, oh yeah, me and Hawkeye are best friends, and then I realized what she was doing. She was trying to get him to get off the elevator so she could ride up the rest of the way herself, and I was like, okay, you're using your annoyance to a tactical advantage here. And so,
I think she was just being annoying.
well,
Maybe.
she was going up to the roof. That was that she wasn't being serious there. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, don't leave. All right, bye. Like, that's what she was doing. That was planned for her to do that. It wasn't just her being annoying. Again,
It's hard to
teach their own.
it's hard to tell honestly because
The
she's
way
just annoying.
well, the way
Like,
I see her
so
character, she is confidently stumbling. She's faking it till you make it, I guess is the best way to put it. Because
yeah.
she's literally thrown into. I mean, character wise, it all makes sense because she's this person who really has kind of had a broken life in general, and just from the beginning with the whole alien invasion when she was 10. But I mean, she's thrown into this situation where at the same time she's meeting her idol, but also being chased by people who want to kill her, thinking she's someone else, and like trying to figure out if her mom and her fiance are. So it's kind of one of those, my life is in perpetual chaos. Fuck it. So it's confidently faking it till you make it. And then that's why I really like those scenes. Like I'll be honest, the Christmas scene, whenever she came over, that's probably been my favorite scene of the show so far, because it was cool seeing their dynamic. It was cool, the whole quarter toss thing, like them just being a duo, like being a partnership. And then also him like kind of calling her out and being like, hey, I see kind of, I see behind those layers. And so it really, I think everything that we're seeing potentially that as annoying is intentional. But again, that's my stance on it. But I have hold on. My question at this point is when are we going to see Kingpin?
I know, like, I like the New Rockstars breakdown where like they even broke down his laugh, and it's like that's Vincent D'Onofrio's laugh or whatever, and it's just like I get they're trying to go for this big reveal or whatever, but I don't know, like. It's just why? I
don't love the way they're doing it either, because
it's just so heavy-handed. Like he can't just say, "Hey, Kingpin." He has to say, like when he's in the car with the one guy, he's just like, "Oh yeah, your boss or her boss." Mm-hmm. Like I feel like if Ronan was doing his job right, that he would have known who the guy is.
No, he knows who it is.
Exactly, but he's playing the pronoun game, like in CinemaSins where it's like, they give a sin for playing the pronoun because he's not saying, who's Kingpin's real name?
Wilson
Fisk.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not saying Fisk. He's just saying your boss or her boss, and it's just like. Just say it.
Well, the problem that I have goes back to the conversation of marketing, toys, and real life stuff. Because last week Kevin Feige came out and said that Charlie Cox is going to be Daredevil in the MCU if we choose to include him in properties going forward. Which we know they're going to. I mean, that's just that.
Right.
But
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But what also happens is with him doing that also confirms that Kingpin exists in the MCU because you can't have one without the other. Exactly. So announcing that at the same time Hawkeye is going on, where the big theory is it Fisk? It's just kind of like, could you have not done that? Like, just don't like. It's like now if it doesn't happen, it's going to be disappointing because it's like, well, who the fuck else is it?
Right. I wonder if that's also his way of hinting at, Murdoch being in No Way Home. Is that good or bad?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So that face is because I had, like a couple weeks ago, I was scrolling through Facebook and I had just come across a picture, and it was a picture, it was a phone picture. And I'm looking, I was like, oh, there's Matt it's people around the table. I'm like, oh, and I look over and there's other people that I've never seen him with before. I'm like, let me look away. It's kind of one of those, I believe that's a very high possibility. If he's not in No Way Home, we're going to see them soon. But because of whatever reason they decided to announce that publicly, it's just kind of like, it kind of ruins the surprise in a way, because even though we know it's probably going to happen, if Marvel doesn't give us a confirmation, we can just guess all the live long day, and it could be a red herring. But I was going to say, as of now, where does it compare to the other Marvel shows for you?
It's, I mean, until we can really get the conclusion or whatever, I don't know if it's going to be below or above, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Because it's like the whole reveal of the suit and everything definitely puts Falcon above Hawkeye. But depending on what's going on in this world, You know, I don't want to put it below just because I want to. Like, I really feel like if there's gonna be some reveals, whether it be Kingpin or just how they decide to end the show, I think that could put it above. But right now, yeah, that the reveal of the new Captain America was definitely a huge highlight, and just the journey of becoming Captain America in the first place. Whereas, like, yeah, Hawkeye. I mean, honestly, I really do hate to say it, but it's like it's honestly Kate Bishop right now that's kind of ruining. Well, not ruining. Let's. I don't want to. I don't want to go that far, but she's definitely bringing it down.
She
for
hasn't
me,
grown on you yet.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, she's done the opposite because it's like I liked her in the first two episodes, and just every episode it just becomes less and less tolerable, I guess. But it's also not enough that I hate it. It's just yeah, like I said, even a D tier Marvel project is still good for me, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you?
It is hard, and I think once the show ends, I'll have more of a concrete answer. But I feel like right now, I want to put it above Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
simply because like the ending was so strong, and a lot of parts in Falcon and Winter Soldier were really strong as well, of the journey of him becoming Captain America. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, 80% of it for me was still kind of generic Marvel movie. So I do like seeing when it's different like that. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I think this has a lot more emotional resonance to something like WandaVision so far, because they are taking the time to focus in on Clint and focus in on his grief and focus in on his
Right.
struggles. Um, and also, in the, I guess in the woke sense, it is cool to have a lot of different non-ham-fisted like representation stuff, like with Echo, and then the fact that it was a simple explanation of why he's wearing hearing aids, and they didn't make it a big deal of, oh, I'm wearing, it's just like, oh yeah, I banged a lot of
Yeah, you did.
I got thrown around and been in a lot of space battles, so I'm a human, and what the
Hawkeye,
fuck am
more
I
like
hearing?
cockeye, which also just seems like. Mm. So, tell me if you've ever had this experience before. Okay, I I work for Domino's, obviously, and yesterday I got a call basically like, hey, could you go work at this other Domino's because they're in really dire need and
Mhm.
they need help or whatever. So I go there and like it was like walking into a child care center. Just everybody was like from high school. I mean, maybe college, but I was like legitimately the oldest person there, and it was just like,
Makes you feel great, doesn't it?
oh my god.
Well, it's
Actually,
also,
there was later in the night I did see like an older gentleman. He was kind of on the chunky side or whatever. So it's like I did eventually see somebody who was older or whatever, but like everybody on the inside was like very young. And versus my store, which both of all three of the supervisors, all three of my supervisors that are like above me or whatever, they're all like they're either my age or they're older.
yeah.
You know, I haven't asked them obviously, but like they're at least older than me or whatever. So it's like there's this hierarchy.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'm going in taking orders from a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds, and
Well,
it's just like
yeah, and we're seeing more and more of that, because obviously everyone, like, because I'm not saying this to be ageist, I guess, and I feel like I have to say that just to fucking cover my own ass in 2021. But yeah, like, it's because kids in high school are the only ones who will put up with how a lot of these, especially retail or food service or customer service workers, will treat them. Because as adults, we're like, hey, we're not going to put up with that. No. Um, and the downside of that is things like whenever I go to Taco Bell, like I went to Taco Bell the other day, and I'm not a Karen when it comes to fast food. I understand how stressful it is when it comes to handling all that, so I'm not going to be an asshole. That being said, I expect a certain amount of professionalism
Be
whenever,
that as it may. Yeah, right.
in the sense of like, I don't expect you to be prim and proper while you're talking to me by any means, but this kid was straight up like kind of cutting up in the window with the window still open, and he was kind of like, I mean, he was joking with us, and I was like, okay, I appreciate the humor, but like I could see he was being just very immature and childish, like with the other
Right.
employees, and it's like I'm coming to a restaurant wanting a service, and like that's and I feel like I don't feel like I'm alone in that, but
Yeah.
kind
It's honestly my biggest pet peeve. Like I
yeah,
think I've mentioned this before, but it's like it's genuinely my biggest pet peeve because it is not that hard to just be nice and or
professional.
professional and or fake it. You're not in a good mood, you freaking fake it. But it is definitely the professionalism that is also a pet peeve of mine because it's like you honestly think it's okay to be like yo 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 what up? Yeah, what is your worst experience? I'm gonna go first. I go to this little itty bitty place. It's like a local place, Fancy Freeze, burgers, but ice cream and stuff like that. And there's this guy being completely just like, yo, what up, like really unprofessional. Like, oh yeah, I'll be right with you or whatever. Worst part though, this white ass motherfucker saying the N word totally nonchalantly,
So the
and I'm
dude
just,
who you were dealing with was white.
yep, and he's just straight up saying the N word nonchalantly, no no shame in saying it. No even joking. Like it wasn't like, "Oh, my, A." It was a hard fucking R. And it's just like, how? How can you be white in today's world? Like maybe like this is a huge maybe, huge. Maybe back in the 90s there might, oh my god, even saying that I know it's not true. Just saying it out loud I know it's 100% not true. But it's like I feel like as time's gone on and as you've had the PewDiePies and the ninjas and all the accidentals or on purposables, people throwing out the N word. It's like, no, that's not okay. Like not even if you did have the A, that's not okay. And in today's society, I hate to be that person,
Well,
but it's
today,
like in
yeah,
today's society, no, you're not allowed to say that. You're fucking white, damn it.
the simple fact is based on and I'm going to say conservative indoctrination, because that is a large majority of where we see this coming from, who are fighting against freedom of speech. Today's society thinks that freedom of speech means you can say whatever you want and then get offended
Get
and
away with
hurt.
it.
The one that still gets me to this day is the January 6th stuff. Whenever they're like, "Oh, I'm getting arrested and sent to prison. How did like your white privilege is showing? Shut the fuck up." So for that, for the whole work thing, to me, if I'm an employer, that's a fireable offense.
Right?
And people are, well, people make accents. No, if someone in today's day and age says, accidental or not, any sort of racial slur, that is a red flag of something that they have either heard around them and then they're actively using. They're not a person who I want employed in my workplace.
Right.
For me, if I'm going to do my worst experience,
You gotta top the N word.
I don't think I can, because I can't say I've had a lot of really, really awful experiences. Let me think for a second. Yeah, see, most of my worst experiences are customers, not necessarily
Okay.
dealing
Well,
with.
give me one of those. Give me one of those.
All right. So,
Oh.
so a little backstory if you guys haven't heard before. My parents and I owned a barbecue restaurant in our hometown for about 6 years. We got it whenever I was still in high school. And so 6 years of, out of high school, I was, managing the place, like in food service, like dealing with customers, and quickly realized how awful truly the people confirmed basically how awful the people were in my town. Some of them based on how they acted. But this one lady I will never forget, she comes in and gets 2 potatoes. Now, with us, the way we made our baked potatoes was they were big ass Idaho potatoes. You're welcome. And then we would load them up. So, I mean, we would put a bunch of butter, bunch of sour cream, bunch of ranch, cheese, meat. I mean, it was a $7 or $8 potato, but it was worth your while because it was easily a quarter pound of meat by itself. So, I mean, it was good quality stuff. Now, this lady got it loaded. She got everything. No, she didn't want sour cream. She didn't want sour cream. And so, we hand her the bag. She goes. Fast forward 4 hours later, it's about 5 o'clock. This same lady comes back and is complaining about how her chopped beef is dry and about how we put sour cream on there when we weren't supposed to. First red flag of this, when she walks in the door, she's not carrying the potatoes in the same bag that she had them in. She's carrying them in a Walmart sack. So she also is complaining that the in which we gave them barbecue sauce also. Mind you, this was 4 to 5 hours ago. She's complaining that the meat was dry. And so we had her open up the food, and we were at the counter with her, basically breaking down and showing her what the fuck is in a potato. Because she was like, well, you see you put sour cream on here. I don't want sour cream. And we're like, ma'am, we didn't put sour cream on there. She's like, yeah, you did. And we're like, you see those black spots there? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, ma'am, that's ranch. That's not in sour cream. And prior to this, she had tied this Walmart sack tight, so we had to get a knife to cut it. So I handed my pocket knife over. It was me and someone else working at the counter, and I handed the knife over to them so they could open the bag. And the knife was, still open. And after that conversation with and this woman's still going on, and person I was working with was like, all right, here, hand the knife before I end up, accidentally hurting. What she was implying was, here, you close the knife because I'm going to hurt myself if I accidentally close the knife. The woman thought that we were threatening her life.
Oh,
and she was like, well, I definitely don't want anything now. If you guys are going to threaten, we're like, ma'am, we're not going to. And then we just let her leave, and we're like, okay, bye.
Bye, Felicia.
I think it's that, and just my general just don't give a fuck anymore. I have zero tolerance for any of that. So, and that's one thing that I did like is we didn't refuse service often, but if you acted like an ass, hell yeah, we would.
Right.
There was one guy who threw his hands on the counter because he was mad about something about ribs, and we told him to get out. And we're like, no, sir, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're not going to be aggressive. And like, I have the right to refuse you service.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. So speaking of racial slurs and how they're not acceptable in today's day and age, what if this is a hypothetical?
This is going immediately. Go ahead.
And by hypothetical, I mean it's 100% true. But let's say hypothetically, I don't know, a United States senator called another United States senator part of a jihad squad. That'd be bad, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So apparently, Lauren Boebert, they're basically, the Democrats are trying to get her off of her duties, just like they did with Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever, after she said all this stupid Holocaust bullshit.
Yeah.
Which let's we're going to take a side tangent of this side tangent and talk about how can you stop comparing everyday bullshit to the Holocaust? Unless people are literally dying because of something that's happening, stop complaining it to Nazi Germany. Because if you had a star on your chest, for instance, if you had a star on your chest, that was a death sentence in Nazi Germany. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And people are just throwing this around like, oh, I have to have a vaccine card. Well, that's pretty much a Nazi star or a Jewish star or whatever. Oh, I have to wear a mask. That's pretty much a German star. Or, God, I keep saying
Nazi
Jewish star or whatever. Jewish star. It's like, first off, no, it fucking isn't. Second off, you won't literally be killed in result of not having a mask or a vaccine card, so fuck right the fuck off. So, side tangent of the side tangent over. Back to the original side tangent. there's footage of her literally calling. I lost the name, but it is a Muslim American, and she talks about how her and some of the other like more famous, African American AOC kind of type people are a part of the Jihad Squad, and it's just like that person was elected.
Yeah.
Everybody saw their choices, and they're like, you know what, I like that person. But the worst part isn't necessarily that she called him that. It's the fact that there are several clips of her pretty much saying the exact same thing, but in different variations. So it means that it's a story she goes back to rile up her crowd.
Yep.
And it's just like...
When people say echo chambers, it's insane. By the way, I'm not being rude or anything. I'm trying to one up that because I heard something today about someone talking about January 6th and in defense of the people that were there. And I'm like, woman, did you literally not just hear what you said? Let me see if I can find it. Because it...
Yeah. So, I mean, so they're trying to get her to lose all her, duties, essentially.
Nice.
And shut up. And that's going to be a whole, freedom of speech. Why can't I say stuff anymore?
Freedom of speech doesn't
mean
freedom of consequences.
That's number one. But number two is we shouldn't have a senator saying extremely racist stuff like that.
We shouldn't have anyone saying it.
And like, you could just say, oh, well, she's just commenting on the person's culture. Jihad is not a culture associated with anything other than the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So you are making a negative assumption of somebody just because, like, if you called them a Muslim American, like, oh no, here comes the Muslim, and because that was the context of, she'd be like, oh no, here comes the Jihad Squad. That would be the context of her quote unquote joke, which conservative jokes, Jesus Christ,
they're not.
Like, and here's number three, I guess. Number three is like, why is it that conservatives, not all of them, obviously, not all conservatives, not all Republicans, not all libertarians, whatever, how come they think it's funny to say stuff like that because it makes a liberal or a Democrat or whatever angry? When the thing is that it's not literally the word you're saying that makes you mad, it's the implication behind it.
Mm-hmm.
When you just say the word black and you don't say anything else, it's not just the word black that is a problem. It's the fact that it's what's behind it. When you call it the China virus, and you try to make an excuse like, oh, well, it was called the Spanish flu, so why can't I call this the China? It's not the word China virus or the two words China virus. It's the implications behind it and the fact that you know what you're doing. Someone saying Jihad Squad, like, it's not the literal word, it's not your ability to say it, right? This freedom of speech. It's the fact that you're doing it on purpose because it's problematic and it's a bad thing.
The whole mental gymnastics that conservatives put us through of like, yes, we get that you didn't say literally something that was what, but you can still get in trouble for the meaning behind that, and they don't understand that. My answer to the question that you pose is twofold. One, large portion of the reason why they think that they can't is because a large portion of these conservatives that are making these kind of comments are on the more evangelical religious side statistically. Statistically, that also shows that they have a very, 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 very high chance of a lack of critical thinking, because unfortunately, that's kind of a thing with a lot of Christians. Is I think that inherent nature of, oh, God's going to take care of it. Don't worry, I'm in God's hands, and I had taken their own
Jesus,
responsibility.
take the wheel.
I think that has a lot to do with it. Is that sort of mindset and thinking. The other thing is, I think it's just clear as day that the Republicans think that we're, maybe not specifically Republicans, but there is some part of the government that just still thinks that we're stupid and won't notice anything. The whole thing with the redistricting for the voting is another one. It's like, but kind of going off of this, I want to propose a segment for this show.
Okay.
I don't know a good way to phrase it yet, but basically let's showcase something extremely idiotic so we can make sure everyone's aware of how idiotic it is. Kind of like DeFranco's douchebag of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I found the link I was talking about and I sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, okay.
So
That's what that was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is the violins because they're saying that she's like being dramatic?
Maybe. I think so.
Okay.
Imagine.
Oh, I meant to show it, like, to screen share.
Oh, you're right. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Many of these people have never been charged for a crime before. Some of them are veterans, and the treatment is unbelievable. They are told they have to denounce President Trump. They are told that their views are...
See what I mean about the violence?
Even though these are men that every single night at 9 o'clock at night, they put their hand over their heart and sing the national anthem voluntarily. Imagine a group of men being held in jail with no idea of when they're going to go to court, no ability to bail out, no ability to see their family.
Okay, that part right there is infuriating. Okay, that part right there is super triggering. Because she's like literally like, oh, they don't know when they're gonna get out. They can't see their family. And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
so can not most people in the prison industrial complex. I mean,
yes. But then, Mexican kids sleeping on the floor and dying in some cases, that's totally okay. But these people who literally stormed the Capitol, they're victims.
But that's because these people are ours. That's why.
Right?
Yeah, back it up a little bit because she's about to say a defamatory statement.
Okay.
No ability to see their family. Being mistreated and abused worse than we treat terrorists at Gitmo. Yet they have their hand over their heart every night at 9 o'clock and sing the national anthem.
The one part of this that really made me go, I'm sorry, what? Was when she makes the statement. She was like, saying that they'll have to denounce Trump, saying that they're cult-like, but yet these are people who at 9 o'clock every night put their hand over their heart and sing the national anthem voluntarily.
Right. It's like, that sounds pretty fucking cult-like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sing the national anthem if it comes on, sure, but I'm not going to every single night at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Because
that
guess what?
Seems fucking creepy.
I don't give a I'm not gonna say I don't give a fuck about my country that much, but it's just like I don't have blind patriotism like that.
Right.
But it's just like, and then she says it again at the end. It's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, your white privilege is showing.
Right. Well, not only that, but it's like I feel like these are the same people that would make comments about like if somebody was doing the I don't want to say the wrong name, but the prayer where they get the carpet out and they, get on their hands and knees. They do it every day. Yeah. And they have to do it every day at a very specific time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like why isn't that respected? Because we literally just got done talking about how somebody would call somebody a jihad just because they happen to be a Muslim.
That's the problem with Republicans is the fucking hypocrisy. But right? You are right. That is the biggest thing that's the worst about what she said is the whole of never knowing when they're going to see their kids. Hey, yeah, I guarantee that you've probably been for like hardcore prison legislation that has been basically corrupt up to the entire decades, however long it's been in place. But just because like for the first time, someone who decided to be an idiot and storm the castle, not just, we're looking around, not destroyed, but like defame the castle or the castle.
Right. And like, there's this weird thing that's like, okay, so let's say, like, for instance, let's say you broke into a house,
Mhm.
and then I just walked around politely taking a tour. I'm still breaking and entering.
You still broke into the house.
I still am in a broken in house. There were still people at the Capitol saying, no, you can't come in. So even if, the front line, the very front line is just a bunch of Antifa guys, right? And all the violence was really Antifa. So all the polite people just walking around taking podiums. I mean, walking around sitting on a desk. No, I mean, walking around and doing absolutely nothing. They're still in there after Antifa,
Regardless. By the president's
unquote.
word.
Right? I mean, let's not get into that because...
Yeah.
But what we know for a fact is that, legally speaking, even if they went in there after all the violence, so we're talking like, I don't know, maybe like an hour or something. Maybe they went in at a whole hour. They were literally the back of the line. So the front of the line is doing all the damage and punching cops and tasing cops and breaking windows. And you're at the back of the line, but you still make it in. You're still committing a crime.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Even if somebody loots the Walmart down the street and then I just kind of walk in afterwards, I'm in the scene of a crime. So don't be at a scene of a crime. Like,
it goes back to what we talked
about. That's the logic that makes no sense. Because even if you want to blame it on Antifa, which, first off, if you want to blame it on Antifa, why do you not also want to make sure you know what happened that day? That's number one. If it is Antifa, well, then arrest Antifa. I'm okay with that. But it wasn't, and you're just making shit up. Okay, so that's number one. Even if it was Antifa who did all the violence, all the people were still there on camera. So they're trying to act like, oh, these people are innocent. It's like, no, they weren't.
It goes back.
I mean, they're guilty by association. I don't mean to keep interrupting.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
I was going to say, it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning with the Crumley situation is, at the end of the day, you were still negligent. You cannot argue that you were not. You were in some, and the whole thing of saying they're treated worse than Gitmo, I guarantee you that's not the case. I guarantee you, if anything, I mean, that's just not the case. That's just actually not true. No one cares enough to treat you that bad because you stormed the Capitol because you're a Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. You're spinning that narrative in your head because you're fucking crazy and your friend told you to.
Yeah. I mean...
You want to move to Canada?
Yeah, no shit, right? I mean, here's a couple of things that we know about politicians, regardless of what side they're on. All politicians lie. All politicians can be hypocritical, whether it be their past self or things they've done in the past, things they did when they were a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So all politicians can lie. All politicians can be hypocrites. But it's the brazen nature and the frequency that conservative or Republican candidates are hypocritic. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous. Because I'm sure you could find AOC, which I feel like is a really good example of a good Democrat. I feel like you could still find instances of her being a hypocrite. I feel like that's not something that I support, because I don't support a Democrat being a hypocrite, but I hate Republicans being hypocrites or whatever. That's not the case. The case is just how frequent it is, how brazen it is, and the whole gaslighting thing. Mm-hmm. The fact that you are trying to convince me that literally the footage that they were showing at the top, or the 40-minute long recount of all the events that they put out on July 4th. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 40 minutes long, and they went step by step by step of how they made it into the Capitol. You cannot tell me after watching that it didn't happen the way I thought it happened, that I saw it happen. And there are even parts in that particular video where they highlight people from the Proud Boys, from, various other Republican groups, and they highlight them. They highlight their, Facebook profile or just their mugshot and everything. It's like, this person's a Republican. This person is, boom, right there. Here's a nice red circle so you can see it.
Yeah.
But the amount of gaslighting is just
it also comes
ridiculous.
down to ownership too. Like the example you brought up about AOC, to play off of that. For anyone who is still like unsure how to navigate basically what you see online versus what you think, the rule that I always go by when it comes to canceling someone or when something comes out, like you're talking about, like Twitter, let's just use Twitter. So let's say that AOC, something came out that she tweeted something a long time ago that was problematic. AOC strikes me as the type of person, based on her track record of being honest, from my understanding, just how different she talks from conservatives, she would own up to it. I would feel like she would own up to it. And, if it was something egregious, I feel like she would do something about it. Comparison to like James Gunn, and this is a very loose comparison.
Ooh, yeah. We are so much alike, because I was literally going to use James Gunn as an example.
This is what I'm talking about someone good. Like, they came out and showed all the tweets that he made when he was edgelord 2010, when a lot of us were doing that. Was it right? No, but it was also a societal thing kind of around that time. And so, but James Gunn, he admitted to, he was like, yeah, it's one of those that I did that basically his response to being called out about it was basically like, look, I admit to that it was wrong, but it wasn't anything that was bad, but yet he got canceled and off of Guardians.
There was genuine regret in a lot of his
took ownership.
Apology. Yeah, he took ownership, and there was whereas let's go on the other spectrum, the other side of the spectrum. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's just like, I don't get what the big deal is.
Or Travis Scott.
Like, I don't know that much about him.
Well, he's wanting to. Yeah, go ahead. It doesn't matter.
No, but the fact that he can make all these trans jokes and then he's just like, what? They're just jokes, and and I think I brought this up before, but it's like, it's not the fact that you're making the joke, it's the fact that you're making the joke, being called out on them, making more jokes,
and deflecting,
being called out on, making more jokes, being called out on them. You can't do it that many times. Like, if I randomly drop the word, get ready. If I randomly drop the word fag, like, Nate, don't be such a fag. And maybe I was ignorant, maybe I didn't know what that word really meant, okay? But you called me out on it. Like, Nick, don't say fag.
Yeah.
That's a bad word to say. It has a lot of negative, implications for the gay community. So please don't say that word. Okay. A couple days go past, and I'm like, Nate, don't be such a like, that's still bad.
Yeah.
That
you're
makes
still
me
meaning.
I'm being an asshole, and now I'm being an asshole knowing that you don't like that word.
Yep.
Like, it's even worse or whatever. And Dave Chappelle did the exact same thing. Or any comedian who nowadays will just there was this one, and of course, like, hindsight 2020, there was this one time that Louis C.K. had a whole thing. It's like, why can't we say fag anymore? It's like, we never meant it as somebody who was gay. We just like, stop being a fag. And it's like, but it does mean that.
Yeah, it does.
Like, just because you might not have literally meant it as this person's gay and likes to choke on cock, that you're still implying that by saying that word.
It is crazy to me, and also pretty impressive how a lot of people, just going back over to politics, like specifically conservatives and Republicans, have mastered the art of deflection. Because, and I'm going back to that because that kind of central point we're talking about hypocrisy there.
Right.
It's like going back to ownership. Yeah, if you get called out on it, if your immediate response is well, or if it's pointing blame at somewhere else or pointing it back on you, don't trust anything they say. B, shut up because you're wasting your energy because they're just
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like genuinely, if a person is at least leaning to the left and or right in the middle, 9 times out of 10, if somebody gets called out for something, they are way more likely to admit that what they did was wrong and that they want to change or whatever. And the sad thing is that sometimes that's still not enough for some people. It's like, come on, guys. Like they're coming out and saying it. At least they're not Donald Trump and literally just being like, oh, fake news. Literally anything that makes him look bad. Literally anything that there is actual footage of him saying the things that he's being accused of saying, and yet he still says it's fake. Like that's the difference. That's the night and day difference. I would much rather somebody say an apology, even if it maybe does sound a little PREE. I would much rather somebody say something that shows that, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry for what I did, rather than the deflection like you were talking about. The no, don't worry about that. Oh, come on, locker room talk. Oh no, I didn't really say that. Oh well, actually, what I meant was no. That's probably the worst right there, right? When somebody's like, oh, well, what he meant to say, or what he meant is like, no, if you meant that, you would have said that. Okay? Like, you shouldn't. There could be absolute flubs where it's like you literally just say one word instead of the other. But at the same time, it's like, if you're saying that word's in your mind.
Yeah.
And it's in your vocabulary of stuff that you would be willing to say maybe behind closed doors. So.
Yeah.
Blah.
Life's great.
Life is great. Life is beautiful.
But we have Halo, so that's
right. How much have you played?
When I started,
like
no, it wasn't. I've played 4 rounds of bots to try to get I played 4 rounds of bots to try to get used to the controls again, because I've been playing other shooters for so many years that playing Halo is almost foreign.
Right.
I think I've played 3 actual matches, and after the 3rd, my KD changed drastically.
Yeah.
Towards the better. It went from 1-12 to like 6-10. So it got up there, but I'm having fun with it. I do feel like I'm being held back by the console that I'm on, because the console that I have is my friend's old Halo 5 limited edition Xbox One. So it is at least since 2015. And you can tell technically, because I have the motion blur turned down, everything. It's locked at 30, which is disorienting going back to Master Chief Collection at 60.
Right.
And also just the movement, I feel like I have a little bit more. It doesn't feel as smooth as I feel it would on a Series S or X.
I am very impressed with the laptop that I have. Like, sorry to like, but it's like I mean, one, it is a laptop, so it's like I guess I don't really expect it to. I did make sure to get one. There's a sticker right here. It says NVIDIA GeForce RTX Intel Core 17 9th Gen. I can play Infinite at ultra settings on my laptop.
Nice.
Right? Like, and I think, like, if I was being technical, I definitely think there is some frame drops. So, but even dropping it down, because I was streaming it the other day, and I dropped it down to about medium. Now, obviously, the grass isn't as, fine fine-tuned or whatever, or you know what I mean? Like, so there's definitely things about it that, yeah, I can notice that the rocks in the background look a little bit more or a little less detailed, but it's like, it was still great, and it made it run a little bit better, you know?
It's just funny to me that we have a year, if you think about it, where we have a Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Halo launch in the same year. Even though Halo multiplayer doesn't have everything, and that is kind of annoying itself. Like, I went to go play SWAT, because a lot of times in Halo, if I feel like I'm not doing well in normal mode, I'll feel better about SWAT, because it's a mode I've played a lot. So for that not being
Splitgate looking a little better now, eh?
yeah. So like with it not being the full suite in there, that is kind of annoying, but the game is still playable and is not marred by any sort of controversy.
Yeah.
So like Battlefield Dead on Arrival, Call of Duty Dead on Arrival basically just leaves Halo to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am surprised how much I like it. And I think the reason I'm so surprised how much I like it is I had a really bad experience with Halo. Mm-hmm. So I played Halo a little bit when I was younger or whatever, and I even had some things where I kind of just like played with some friends, and I definitely wasn't that great. But the worst experience was like I got invited to this LAN party. And I'm like, oh yeah, a LAN party. There's just going to be like 10 of us there just playing Xbox. This is going to be awesome. And the entire night, I wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, they were just absolutely murdered. Buddy, get out of here.
I was like, man, Maddie got on the couch high.
No, that's Buddy. Leave me alone. And so, yeah, just absolutely getting murdered. So, I did that twice. And that pretty much absolutely ruined Halo multiplayer for me. I didn't pick up Halo for another 10 plus years when I picked this one up. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely don't have a super positive KD, but at the same time, pulling off, I did this on stream, pulling off a repulsor and then a shot with the shock rifle or whatever was so fucking awesome. And there was definitely a couple where I was getting like double kill.
Yeah.
So like and I got a couple of really good ones. So
I feel like we should definitely plan a video at some point for us to talk about our Halo experiences, because mine is so much different. But I've heard of that before, but actually I haven't heard anyone being ruined, like turned off from a multiplayer experience. But
oh yeah,
for me,
absolutely ruined.
I had that the other day in one of my rounds, because towards the end, I think I hopped on Big Team Battle, so it was in a larger size map, and there were ghosts and mongoose running back and forth, and I had picked up the skewer, the brute skewer, and so like I had. I think I missed the first shot, and there was a ghost that was coming my way, and I had kind of geared up, and my camera wise, I had just turned the camera a little bit so I wasn't on center, and I basically no scoped, and it hit and it exploded. I was like, yes.
Yeah,
it's like that stuff that makes you.
I had a very similar thing. Only it was with a person, and they got launched by one of those like catapult things.
Yeah.
So they got launched by the catapult thing. I aimed right at them. And then I just tracked it down a little bit, shot, and it was
so satisfying,
like, so goddamn satisfying. And it was just like I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this. I'm pretty sure I say that on stream. I'm like, I'm gonna try this, and I was like, holy shit! So, yeah, really good. Good. Video games are good. We have a couple of good ones coming out. Mm-hmm. I think either next episode or episode after that, we might start talking about like our games of the year. It might be next episode, because then the week after that's going to be freaking like Christmas or whatever. Yeah. So I don't think we're gonna. So yeah, we're gonna talk about like our favorite games of the year and everything next. So next episode is going to be way more video game centric. So if you're possibly getting tired of the everyday life talking.
Look forward to next episode.
Yeah, look forward to next episode. So, yeah.
But if you enjoy living in chaos with us,
yeah, right? Just keep watching regardless, right? But yeah, I was Nick.
and I was Nate.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Nick and Nate show, and you guys have a good one.
The fact that it was a simple explanation of why he's wearing hearing aids and they didn't make it a big deal of, oh, I'm wearing, it's just like, oh yeah, I banged a lot of
Yeah, you did.
I got thrown around and been in a lot of space battles, so I'm a human.
Hawkeye, more like
hearing.
cockeye. Which also just seems like